Balakand, Chapter 1. We are continuing the discussion from the previous section wherein we learned that Narada was extremely happy to be given the opportunity to talk about Lord Ram. And then we mentioned that it is necessary to hear the glories of the Lord through the mouth of a perfect devotee. And now we are going to substantiate that particular claim. There are a couple of other shlokas in Srimad Bhagavatam that place great emphasis on listening to the story of the Lord via the mouth of a pure devotee. King Prithu conducts a huge sacrifice to which Lord Vishnu himself appears, and King Prithu, who is but a plenary expansion of the Lord, gives very beautiful prayers in which he requests that he continues to listen to the glories of the Lord via the mouth of the pure devotees. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 20, verse 24, he says, Na kamaye natha tad api aham kvachin, na yatra yushmach charanam buja asava, mahattam antar hridayan mukhachito, viditsva karanayutam eshame varah. My dear Lord, I therefore do not wish to have the benediction of merging into your existence, a benediction in which there is no existence of the nectarian beverage of your lotus feet. I want the benediction of at least 1,000,000 years, for thus I may be able to hear about the glories of your lotus feet from the mouths of your pure devotees. In the previous verse, Maharaja Prithu addressed the Lord as Kaivalyapati, the master of liberation, of merging into his existence. This does not mean that he was anxious for Kaivalya liberation. That is made clear in this verse. My dear Lord, I do not want such a benediction. Maharaja Prithu wanted to have 1,000,000 years to hear the glories of the lotus feet of the Lord. He specifically mentioned that the glories of the Lord should emanate from the mouths of pure devotees who speak from the cores of their hearts. It is stated in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.3, Shukha Mukhad Amrita Drava Samyutam. The nectar of Srimad Bhagavatam became more relishable because it emanated from the mouth of Srila Shukadev Goswami. One might think that these glories of the Lord can be heard from anywhere, from the mouths of either devotees or non-devotees, but here it is specifically mentioned that the glories of the Lord must emanate from the mouths of pure devotees. Sri Sanatan Goswami has strictly prohibited hearing from the mouth of a non-devotee. There are many professional reciters of Srimad Bhagavatam who speak the narrations very ornamentally, but a pure devotee does not like to hear from them because such glorification of the Lord is simply a vibration of material sound. But when heard from the mouth of a pure devotee, glorification of the Lord is immediately effective. The words Satam Prasangam Mama Virya Samvida, Srimad Bhagavatam 3.25.25, mean that glorification of the Lord is potent when uttered from the mouth of a pure devotee. The Lord has innumerable devotees all over the universe, and they have been glorifying the Lord since time immemorial and for an unlimited time. But still they cannot completely finish enumerating the glories of the Lord. Prithu Maharaja therefore wanted innumerable years, as Rupa Goswami also desired to have millions of years and millions of tongues to chant and hear the glorification of the Lord. In other words, if our ears are always engaged in hearing the glorification of the Lord, there will be no scope for hearing the Mayavada philosophy, which is doomed to spiritual progress. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that if anyone even hears from a Mayavadi philosopher preaching about the activities of the Lord, even if it is a description from the Vedic literature, he is ultimately doomed. By hearing such Mayavada philosophy, one cannot come to the destination of spiritual perfection of life. Now, this topic is continued in the next verse as well. The verse is as follows. Sa uttama shloka mahan mukha chito bhavat padam bhoja sudha kananila smritim punar vismrita tattva vartamana kuyoginam no vitarate alambarai. My dear Lord, you are glorified by the selected verses uttered by great personalities. Such glorification of your lotus feet is just like saffron particles. When the transcendental vibration from the mouths of great devotees carries the aroma of the saffron dust of your lotus feet, the forgetful living entity gradually remembers his eternal relationship with you. Devotees thus gradually come to the right conclusion about the value of life. My dear Lord, I therefore do not need any other benediction but the opportunity to hear from the mouth of your pure devotee. The purport is as follows. It is explained in the previous verse that one has to hear the glorification of the Lord from the mouth of a pure devotee. This is further explained here. The transcendental vibration from the mouth of a pure devotee is so powerful that it can revive the living entity's memory of his eternal relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In our material existence, under the influence of illusory Maya, we have almost forgotten our eternal relationship with the Lord, exactly like a man sleeping very deeply who forgets his duties. In the Vedas, it is said that every one of us is sleeping under the influence of Maya. We must get up from the slumber and engage in the right service, for thus we can properly utilize the facility of this human form of life. As expressed in a song by Thakura Bhakti Vinoda, Lord Chaitanya says, Jeeva Jago, Jeeva Jago. The Lord asks every sleeping living entity to get up and engage in devotional service so that his mission in this human form of life may be fulfilled. This awakening voice comes through the mouth of a pure devotee. A pure devotee always engages in the service of the Lord, taking shelter of his lotus feet, and therefore he has a direct connection with the saffron mercy particles that are strewn over the lotus feet of the Lord. Although when a pure devotee speaks, the articulation of his voice may resemble the sound of this material sky, the voice is spiritually very powerful because it touches the particles of saffron dust on the lotus feet of the Lord. As soon as a sleeping living entity hears a powerful voice emanating from the mouth of a pure devotee, he immediately remembers his eternal relationship with the Lord, although up until that moment he had forgotten everything. For a conditioned soul, therefore, it is very important to hear from the mouth of a pure devotee who is fully surrendered to the lotus feet of the Lord without any material desire, speculative knowledge, or contamination of the modes of material nature. Every one of us is kuyogi because we have engaged in the service of this material world, forgetting our eternal relationship with the Lord as his eternal loving servants. It is our duty to rise from the kuyoga platform to become suyogis or perfect mystics. The process of hearing from a pure devotee is recommended in all Vedic scriptures, especially by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. One may stay in his position of life, it does not matter what it is, but if one hears from the mouth of a pure devotee, he gradually comes to the understanding of his relationship with the Lord and thus engages in his loving service, and his life becomes completely perfect. Therefore, this process of hearing from the mouth of a pure devotee is very important for making progress in the line of spiritual understanding. So the fragrance that emanates from the lotus feet of the Lord is so powerful that it can move the hearts of millions of devotees. And When that particular fragrance is in the heart of one pure devotee, why wouldn't he feel happy to share that information with another curious devotee? And this is the main reason why Sage Narada was extremely pleased. Because he is now given that opportunity by the mercy of Lord Rama himself. He is now given that opportunity to enlighten another bona fide student. And that bona fide student is going to enlighten this entire world with the knowledge that is Valmiki Ramayana. So now let's go to the 7th verse. So this is where Sage Narada begins to speak. Bahavo durlabah cha eva ye tvaya kirtita guna muni vakshyami aham buddha tai ukta shruyatam nara. Well hast thou questioned and skillfully of a truth, it is not easy to find one in whom all these diverse excellences are united. But with little thought, I believe I can find you a person answering to your description. Verily, no one has a better right to know it, for your keen and clear intellect is equaled but by your powerful memory. Now listen with your heart and soul. So what is the first adjective that he uses? He says that it is durlabha. It is difficult, it is unattainable, it is rare indeed. Rare for what? For ordinary people to be endowed with such qualities. That's what he says. Kirtita guna, the qualities that you have described. It's very difficult. That's why he says, bahavo. It's so difficult to find a person who is endowed with all the various qualities that you have described. And the many or bahavo is merely 16 different qualities. Valmiki specified 16 qualities that are ideal. And we will see that in the course of this chapter, Valmiki receives the knowledge of more than 70 different qualities from Sage Narada. He receives umpteen number of qualities and is way more than just 16. And yet Narada says that all these qualities that you have described is so difficult to find in one person. However, I know one such man, one Nara, one man who is endowed with all these qualities. Therefore, Shruyatam. Therefore, listen carefully, listen with your heart and soul what I am saying to you. And Narada once again specifies that this is the story of a Nara or a man. And we have already seen that Sage Valmiki asks the question, Jnatim evam vidham naram, in the previous verse. So Valmiki wants to know if a man exists with all these qualities. And Sage Narada says that it is so difficult to find a person endowed with all these qualities, but he can ascertain one such man. There is one person who possesses all these qualities and more. And Narada says, I'm going to talk about that particular person. Mune vakshyami aham. I am going to speak about the person who possesses all these wonderful qualities that you have just mentioned. Even though it's so rare to find one person endowed with all these qualities. It is the duty of a pure devotee to spread the knowledge of the Lord to another pure devotee. This is his duty. So Brahma spread that knowledge to his son Sage Narada. Narada spread that knowledge to Valmiki. Valmiki spread that knowledge to Sage Bharadvaja, to Kusha, Lava, and so on and so forth. Narada spread the message to his disciple Vedavyasa. Vedavyasa spread that message to his son Shukadev Goswami. Shukadev Goswami said that message of Srimad Bhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj, and so on and so forth. So like this, we have various disciplic successions. And of course, over here we are following the disciplic succession of Brahma, because it's from Brahma to Narada, Narada to Valmiki, and Valmiki to the rest of the world. So we are following the disciplic succession of Brahma over here. And it is imperative for a pure devotee to teach another pure devotee. It is absolutely imperative. What is the reason behind this? Lord Krishna has mentioned in Bhagavad Gita 10.9, Matchita matgata prana bhodayanta parasparam katayantascha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. And the purport says, pure devotees whose characteristics are mentioned here engage themselves fully in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Their minds cannot be diverted from the lotus feet of Krishna. Their talks are solely on transcendental subjects. The symptoms of pure devotees are described in this verse specifically. Devotees of the Supreme Lord are 24 hours daily engaged in glorifying the qualities and pastimes of the Supreme Lord. Their hearts and souls are constantly submerged in Krishna, and they take pleasure in discussing Him with other devotees. So this is transcendental happiness. They have great joy in discussing the various pastimes and glories and the form and beauty and the interaction that the Lord has with the other devotees. They have tremendous joy in discussing any topic concerning the Supreme Lord. In the next section, we will see how Sage Narada starts off the description of Ramayana.